Hey, welcome in, fans, to another episode of the Two Line Pass podcast. I'm Randon, here with me, my best buddy, Dustin. Ryan is once again on the IR, but that's why we reactivated Dustin. And welcome back, man. It's been like a month and a half, I feel like, since you've been in studio with me. How you doing?
It has been so long. Like, I don't know if I remember how to do this. Like, I'm really good at talking, so it's just sitting in front of a microphone and talking. I think I can figure it out, but it's been a really long time. My wife asked me just the other day, like, do you do the podcast anymore? Like, well, yeah, I was off last time, and like we took the Olympics off, but yeah, it's been at least a month. So yeah, it's good to be back.
We're back. Just like, so, this makes sense, though, that a podcast dedicated to the Utah Mammoth would mirror the Utah Mammoth in that we would have the same type of injuries plague the podcast crew like the Mammoth have had them plague us this season. But we kind of got everybody healthy now. More or less. Sergachev's been out day to day, but hasn't stopped us 3-game winning streak to start this 5-game road trip. But Dustin, let's start with the biggest news. Last episode, Ryan and I were speculating on any number of trades that we could make, and they all hinged on forwards, right? We were actually, the only time a defenseman came up is when we were talking about potentially moving a defenseman. I would have never put money that we would have grabbed MacKenzie Weegar from the Calgary Flames to make our blue line just that much better. And at a low price of Olimata, my boy, 3 second-round picks, and prospect out of Cornell, Jonathan Castagna, he's gone. But he's not a big name. Let's put all our cards on the table. Most casual Mammoth fans would have never even known the guy was on our team. But that was the cost to get a very good defenseman with term on his contract. We'll get him for another 5 years. What were your reactions to the MacKenzie Weegar edition?
I liked it. If there was, like, at first when I saw that we traded for a defensive player, I'm like, did we really need help on the defensive end? Like, we've been pretty good. And then I realized, like, yeah, Durzi's been kind of, and even Sergachev, like, there's times where Sergachev just looks completely disinterested in the game that he's playing. But once I thought about it, I was like, okay, that allows probably Durzi to move down to line 3. I mean, he's probably good enough defensively to be like a second line defender, but our second line defense is so good with Schmidt and Marino. It's just, you're not going to break that up. So you bump Durzi down to 3, which obviously didn't happen in the Columbus game because Sergachev's out, but it's a change that I liked, especially once I saw some of the stats that Weegar has in terms of like block shots and hits, that he's just like, you compare them to who's leading those stats on the Utah Mammoth roster, and he's like way ahead of them, like leagues ahead of them. And that's a type of hockey that you have to play to win in the playoffs. So, although I think we did need probably a middle 6 center, I do like that they weren't willing to just completely sell the farm to get the lead singer of Matchbox 20 in here. But like, I like that they saw needs, but they weren't willing to mortgage the future to chase success right now. So I like what Utah did at the deadline.
Absolutely. And that's kind of been GMBA's motto, is to not mortgage the future, where I've kind of taken the opposite approach and said, we have assets, let's use them, and that's one of my problems I've had. Let's be honest, since we started this podcast, is I've been too much into let's win now. Like, I want to win now. No, the rebuild's over. Let's move on. But taking a step back and saying, okay, because St. Louis wanted way too much. A lot of teams, I think, wanted a lot for what little they had. And we look at the trade deadline. It was one of the quietest trade deadlines in recent memory. I think the fewest trades since 2020, the second fewest over like the past 10 years. Like, it was a slow trade deadline. And I watched 8 hours of TSN coverage, which, shoot me again if I have to ever watch 8 hours of TSN broadcasters. Oh my God. Like, we have some homer takes on this podcast, but my goodness, the TSN broadcast. Like, but I guess when you're paid to talk about Canadian hockey, like, you gotta kind of hype up the Canadian hockey team. But watched it, just waiting to see if anything happened. And I wonder if there were so many big deals, like, right, the biggest deals were done before deadline day. And even the Mammoths deal was done a day before deadline deal. We got Weegar the day before the trade deadline. And so it was a relatively quiet quiet day, not sure what the Mammoth were going to do if they need anything, but it all kind of comes back to, and there were even reports that Nick Schmaltz's contract extension is now proceeding. Like it looks like there may be some fire to that smoke that Schmaltz is looking to re-sign. And with him playing as good as he is at that first line center position, like maybe that's what it was. Like if he wasn't as good as he is at first, like does that maybe push Bill Armstrong to say, hey, we need a guy now? But Schmaltz has just picked up, playing right where he left off years and years ago, playing center, and he's just filled in the position quite great. And now he does what Coach Tourigny finally did, what I've been calling for months, Dustin, and he puts Gunther on that line with Nick Schmaltz. Now, I thought it would be Schmaltz going down, but he brings Gunther up, and Gunther, Keller, and Schmaltz on that line. No surprise in the last 6 games that the top 2 point getters of the Mammoth are Clayton Keller and Dylan Gunther. And right there with him is Nick Schmaltz. And that line looks good. So maybe he didn't need to do anything.
Yeah. And I think if Barrett Hayton is still a top 6 center on this team, you have to maybe, okay, we can mortgage a little bit. Maybe that's what we will move our prospects for. But the fact that he's been able to move down to the bottom 6 and you're not relying on Barrett Hayton for top 6 center minutes, it's not as desperate. Like I think you can get away with having Barrett Hayton as your 3rd line or 4th line center, 3rd line. But that is one thing that I don't want to kind of just pivot straight into it. I see people talking about we can't give up our prospects. We can't give up our prospects because we hope that they'll turn into good NHL players. But if you can trade them and bring in a good NHL player, you've successfully turned them into successful NHL players. That's the point of having prospects. Like they might eventually come up through the system and turn into high-level NHL players. But if you can trade them for a high-level NHL player, it accomplishes the same goal. The person that you're trading them for is a little bit older. You don't have them for as long. So I understand it. And nobody wants to be 20, 30 years down the line looking back as the team who traded Michael Jordan, right? You don't want to be the guy that drafted Greg Oden instead of Kevin Durant. Nobody wants to be the team that you look back at and you're like, oh, you traded that guy for that guy? But and that's a fear, but it's just be willing to move your prospects. We didn't have to. We weren't that desperate, so I'm glad that we didn't, but just be more open to that, especially as we go into the off season and next season. Some of these guys might get moved and some of them might eventually turn into really good players. Doan is killing it in Buffalo right now. Who would have ever thought that Buffalo is going to be their 2nd or 3rd in the East right now?
Yep.
Where did that come from?
First in the Atlantic, 2nd in the East. It's crazy.
Yeah, it feels like that feels one of the rare instances where both teams win a trade. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I think both teams are happy with how that trade turned out. But yeah, I'm preparing. I'm trying to take a moment on a soapbox to prepare fans. Just be okay with trading some prospects in the future if it happens. I'm glad it didn't, but it might happen in the future. They can't all come up through the system and wind up as impact players on the Mammoth roster. There's just probably not going to be enough room for them all to do it. And hitting on all of your prospects like that is just going to be rare, but just be open to it. Just dip your toe in, get used to the idea because it's going to happen at some point.
Yep. And, it's funny you brought up, I don't think that GMs care what the media says at all for the most part, but I've already seen 12 articles, winners and losers from the trade deadline and stuff. And so we're already immediately judging. And I say the royal we're not really media, but the media is collectively already judging these trades. And so it's funny, you bring up man, we don't want to be the guy that trades Caleb Desnoyers and he turns into Gretzky kind of thing. But do you remember the show on ESPN, the top 5 reasons you can't blame? Did you ever watch that show?
That doesn't sound familiar, no.
My gosh, I loved this show and I can't really find it. But so what they do is they go through and it's top 5 reasons you can't blame a famous person for a famous blunder. So your typical ones are top 5 reasons you can't blame Bill Buckner for the Red Sox losing the World Series.
Right.
Top 5 reasons
you can't blame Bartman for the Cubs.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Okay. And then one of them is the top 5 reasons you can't blame whoever it was for not drafting Michael Jordan 1st overall. He drops to 3rd overall or something. And so that was when you were saying, like, you don't want to be that guy who was like, we're going to do a top 5 reasons you can't blame GM Bill Armstrong for trading Caleb Desnoyers if it comes down to that. But at the end of the day, you part with a prospect that he seems to be doing very good in college. He's having a great year at Cornell. I hope he does well for Calgary, because I'm also hoping that MacKenzie Weegar is great for us. And so anytime you can get a win-win trade, that works, because you're already seeing, like, the debate's going to rage on for the next few years. Is JJ Peterka worth it? Is Doan doing better? Like, would you rather have Doan and Kess? Like, maybe Kess was always going to get traded, like maybe Doan was always going to get traded, and you brought in a very good guy. And right now, I think that trade is still win-win. So I'm glad right now the two major trades, I say, that we've been through have both been relatively win-wins for both franchises.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels that way. I mean, immediately off the bat, Ollie Mata has an assist with the Flames in their last game, and then MacKenzie Weegar goes out and immediately has an assist and played really well. I believe was either first or second on the team in ice time, and like skated more than anybody else, covered more ground, and you saw the immediate impact of what he was supposed to do. Mata goes to Calgary and plays well for them also. So wins all around. That's what I like to see.
We'll take it. And
I've always been the type of sports fan that watches players after they leave my team, and I still root for them to do well. Like, especially in college football, like players that transfer away, most of them, there have been some exceptions, but players that transfer away, I watch them. I'm like, ooh, they played really well. That's cool. That's great. Awesome. Cooper Manning, when he went to Georgia State, a quarterback from Utah, like he played really well at Georgia State. I loved watching it. I loved following that. So I'm going to keep an eye on Ollie Mata, just like I do with Doan and Kesselring and Bjugstad. I actually forgot that he got traded. I went to look at a Blues box score. I was like, where's Bjugstad? And then I went to his player page, like, oh, he's with New Jersey now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay. Apparently I'm not following Bjugstad well enough. So.
Nah, but let's be honest. I hated Bjugstad last year, so I wouldn't follow him. I didn't hate him. I liked him as a person. That's what you got to understand. Like, I never hate these players as people. I just dislike the hockey that they play for us, which is a lot of feelings. People had those same feelings for Schmaltz last year. You're seeing the same kind of feeling for Barrett Hayton this year. Like, there's always going to be that player that you're like, you hope more from, but
yeah.
Right now,
there's always like that happened just the other night. Like I've tweeted a couple of times where it's like Utah's on a 2-on-1 breakaway, they drop it back to Barrett Hayton. No, come on, man! Like that happened the other day. We had a breakaway, and then Barrett Hayton's coming down the right down the crease, and they find him, and he just sends it over the top of the crossbar. I'm like, Barrett, come on, man! Just I don't even care if you just put it right there. It's not even a difficult save for the goalie. Just put it on net. Don't friggin' field goal that thing over the top of the crossbar. But I do have faith in Hayton's ability to turn things around.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's a really good player.
Right now,
he's a hustle
player. Dude, come on, man.
Yeah, he just has not having very much luck putting the puck in the back of the net. He has helped on the power play, though. The power play has looked better. It's still not great, but it has looked better. The penalty kill is in complete disarray, so I'm hoping that that's something MacKenzie Weegar can help with, especially in a situation if Ian Cole takes a penalty. You have now MacKenzie Weegar who can come in and step in and play that defensive position that Ian Cole would have normally done. And so I'm hoping that Weegar can have a positive impact on the penalty kill, given that a lot of our penalty killers tend to commit the most penalties on the team. And that's the versatility that MacKenzie Weegar has, right? Like, when you're looking up names, I'll be honest, I knew of MacKenzie Weegar because he's on my fantasy hockey team. But he's not on my fantasy hockey team because I picked him up because I knew who he was and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go out and get him. He just happened to have a lot of fantasy points at the time. I needed an extra defenseman. And I was like, oh, I'll take this guy from Calgary. But he's never somebody I followed religiously or knew much about before. He scored 20 goals just a season ago, but I don't think he's really on everybody's radar as like a top defenseman. But maybe that's what you want, is like a under the radar top defenseman. You don't need to be flashy. You just need to be productive. And at the end of the day, either put more pucks in the back of the net than you let in, or just keep more pucks out of the back of the net. And that's what we want out of our defensemen. And getting a guy like MacKenzie Weegar just strengthens that core overall and gets a little younger too. We're looking at a world where Ian Cole's gone next year. He's 38 years old. Whether he plays again is up for debate, but he's probably not going to play for the Mammoth again. So you've got that, and then you're wondering, is Lamoureux and Simashev, are they ready to jump back up? And so it just gives us more stability long term on the blue line as we let some of our young guys really come into NHL form. And that's a great thing to have, even if it wasn't something that was necessarily on anyone's radar going into the trade deadline.
Yeah, and that's going to happen when you're coming from a team that's like at the bottom of the standings, like the Calgary Flames are. You if you get a player from a team like that, it's kind of like, oh, even if they're putting up big stats, you kind of wonder, like, okay, are they actually good, or are they putting up big stats because they're on a bad team and somebody has to score, so they're putting up stats because they're the best player on a bad team? But the thing that I was discussing the trade with somebody in a Discord that I'm in. Their take on the trade was like, if you trade for a player who has a letter on their jersey, it's a good trade.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are an emotional leader. They're somebody, especially coming down the stretch of a playoff push and getting into the playoffs. Like, that's the type of leader that you want to bring into your team. Like, he's obviously probably not going to, at least this season, wear a letter for the Utah Mammoth. But just having that type of, like, ability to lead your team and be a vocal captain, a vocal leader for a team is big coming down the stretch.
Especially when you're looking at, if we are looking to develop guys like Simashev and Lamoureux, what was the big thing that Tourigny loved to do with those two guys? Well, mostly with Lamoureux and a little bit with Simashev, but he loved to put them with Ian Cole, your most veteran defenseman, who's won multiple cups, who knows what it's like to be in those trenches in the dog days of the late spring, to help mentor those guys as to what it takes in the NHL. So now you've got MacKenzie Weegar, who can do that same thing, right? Like, he maybe hasn't won a cup, but man, he's played well in a situation that really wasn't going to net a lot of cups. And now he's playing for a team that possibly can, right? Like, we are not under the illusion that we can win a cup this year, right? Like, this year, it's probably not our year. Can we make a magic run through the playoffs the way it's shaking out? Maybe. But in 2, 3, 4 years, yeah, Mammoth are absolutely going to be in a position where we're saying, yeah, like, why not cup contenders? Like, we got it. Like, we've got the team that you need to win a Stanley Cup. And to have him in that veteran presence to help those rookie guys come up is just going to be icing on the cake, especially if a guy like Ian Cole goes.
Hold on. You said, like, we're probably not going to win the cup this year. And, like, just the money puck wheel that we've all seen. I want to look that up because we're up to like 90, 94, 95% to make the playoffs, I believe.
Yep.
And I think winning the cup, we have the 6th best odds, 4.6%. Only behind Minnesota, Tampa, Carolina, Dallas, and Colorado.
I tell you, see? So you mentioned we're in 6th place, right? And three of those teams, if we stay in the wild card one, we'll only see one of those three in the Western Conference Finals. Yep. That's how important wild card one is. I mean, you missed the Central entirely.
How damn good is the Central?
Great. Incredible.
4 Central teams in the top 6 of Money Puck's like odds to win the cup are Central teams.
And the problem is for the Mammoth is it looks like, I mean, depending on what Quinn Hughes does in Minnesota, like at least for the next few years, right as we're looking to come of age and come into our cup contender status, you're hoping kind of, I think, that kind of aligns with maybe a drop in some expiring contracts in Dallas, some expiring contracts in Colorado, and some expiring contracts in Minnesota. But I mean, Minnesota locked up long term. If they lock up Quinn Hughes long term, like, I mean, Minnesota's probably likely going to be our nemesis in the Central, depending on what Cale Makar does when his contract expires in 2 years. So what you're hoping is that those 3 teams aren't as good when you're ready to really say we're ready to compete for a cup. But it could be for the next, I mean, for the foreseeable future, those 4 teams, we're going to be in an epic slugfest. And the problem is, you know, one of those teams is going to be a wild card team. That's just how it has to be, unless they change the way they do the playoffs. But then you also have up and comers like Anaheim and San Jose. When Celebrini really comes into form, he's already incredible, but like when he gets older, it's the same thing with talking about Cooley and Gunther getting older. Kid's 19. So like the West is just stacked. The West is good. The East is good. Everybody's good. And we're good. So that's the best part.
We talked about that, or I mentioned it, like how unlucky it is that we're in the Central, because we'd only be 1 point back of the Ducks for the lead in the Pacific. But if we were in the East, we're not even in the playoffs right now. We're 1 point back of we're 1 point back of the Blue Jackets. We're 4 points back of the Bruins for the second wild card spot in the East. So, I mean, count your blessings where they are, because, I mean, as bad as it is that we're stuck in the Central, at least we're not in the East.
Yep, it's crazy. It's a crazy time, and we throw out words like parity or top heavy conferences. Like it's just weird. Like, and I wonder if like this is what you're gonna kind of see with the cap going up. It's that weird thing of kind of like NIL is doing in college football, where you kind of see this spreading of wealth of talent, where you know guys can go get paid to be starters and get seen instead of, you know, ride the pine at Alabama and still be better than most starters out there, you know? So, and in the NHL, like the teams, you got to pay somebody, right? And so guys who are like weighing their odds of like winning a cup, taking the money, like we may just see all this talent spread out and everybody's going to be just good enough to be good. And then you'll have your true contenders emerge. And that's where Utah needs to find themselves as like a true contender, not just good enough to compete. And I think we're doing that. And I think Bill Armstrong, that's his mindset. And I don't think it's just to hope the rookies develop. I think this is a cognitive effort to say, I'm going to put the players in place that I need to make sure that this team is ready to go and compete for cups, and that comes soon, not 5 years always in the future kind of thing. Like the rebuild at this point is over, and it can't come soon enough, because Mammoth fans, you're going to get playoff hockey this year. Barring a complete and total disaster, you're going to at least get playoff hockey. What that road in the playoff looks like, we don't know. But I mean, Utah's playing some damn good hockey right now, and they don't look like they're going to let up. Especially, Vanacek just got a shutout, man. If Vanacek can get in there and the team can play in front of him and get some wins with him in net, give Veggie some rest, like, yeah, you gotta like your odds, especially if you're wild card 1. You gotta like your odds against Vegas, Anaheim, or Edmonton. You just have to.
Yep.
How hype would it be?
Go ahead.
How hype would it be to face first round Edmonton if they start Connor Ingram, and you got Connor Ingram playing his old team in the first round of the playoffs?
Yep. That would be fun. I've tried to kind of follow what's going on with them, and it seems like they can't make a decision on who they want in net. None of their goalies have been good lately. Let me go back. I want to make sure that I'm not misspeaking. But like they've given up, I feel like, let's see, 6, 4, 5. They beat the Kings 8-1. But before that, they gave up 6 goals, 4 goals, 5 goals, 7 goals. And it's been like Yari, Ingram, Yari, and then Ingram sort of 4 in a row. And he had 2 wins in there. But like he's given up like an average of like that's 6, 7, 12, 16, 4 goals a game over that 4-game stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the last time I was in studio with you, I was talking about how great it was to see Connor Ingram, because he was having the best season he's had in his entire career from like a statistical standpoint. And I'm not sure that's the case anymore. It is not. His save percentage is down 89. His goals against average is up to 2.8. The 2.8 goals against average, that is still his best. Mm-hmm. So he's still having, in terms of like Connor Ingram, a good year, but he's been fading a little bit, which I don't like to see. But it would be really fun to get him back in the Delta Center for a playoff game. The crowd like kind of like give a standing ovation to welcome him back, and then immediately chirping him all game long would be
Yep.
fun. But yeah, just the idea, the overall idea of playoff hockey in Utah is so amazing to me. Like just 5 years ago, the idea of Utah even having an NHL team was not even like an inkling of a thought in my head. Like
Yep.
not even a distinct in the realm of possibility idea. And then it's like, okay, we're getting a team, but it's Arizona. Really? We're going to bring Arizona here? Okay. It's probably going to take a few years to build that trash franchise into a playoff contending team. And it took 2. Second year, I knock on wood, I'm not gonna guarantee it, but it's extremely likely that we go to the playoffs at this point. With how the team is playing, the lead that they've built over the second place and like the Kings and all the teams that are kind of on the outside looking in right now, they are distancing themselves with the type of hockey that they're playing right now. It's just so damned exciting to think just like 20-ish games into our future, like less than 20, I believe. We're under 20 left in the season, right? 9 so?
Yeah.
But like just the idea that we're that close to possibly experiencing NHL playoff hockey in the state of Utah. Like today, as we're recording this on the 8th, the Grizzlies went to overtime and had 20 rounds of shootouts. And that was that would have been the most exciting thing that happened in the world of hockey in the state of Utah all year long. And now we have NHL playoff hockey that's just right there. So close we can taste it. Like, I stick out my tongue and I can taste it. I'm like, that's NHL playoff hockey. I can taste it. I'm so stoked for this. I don't want to just, I'm putting the cart before the horse, as it were. A little bit, but I'm so excited for this.
It's just 6 more weeks of hockey, and the back end of April it's not the easiest schedule. It's not the hardest, or March, excuse me. The back end of March is not the most difficult. It's not the easiest by any stretch. But then in April's like one of those like, yeah, we could win every game in April. Like it looks like good.
April is like, especially like if Seattle slips and Vancouver's already bad, Calgary's already bad, St. Louis is probably not going to be in the running, Winnipeg might not be in the running, and then the teams that will be, like Carolina, like they just might not, like we play Carolina April 11th. They may just be like completely like, all right, our playoff spot is set. We don't really care about this game. Like April looks like if we're coming down the wire and we're close, it's like, okay, we got to win some games here. It sets up very nicely for that last, like, what is that in April? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 games in April.
Yep.
A
So the 8 right now are against non-playoff teams.
Right.
So
non-playoff teams, and who knows? Like I said, like the playoff teams just might not have it at that point of the season. They're like, okay, we're gonna kind of like ease off a little bit. I mean, it's not the NBA, so they're not going to be resting all of their starters or anything like that, but they might not be playing with that same level of intensity.
Maybe Utah could be in that situation depending on how the points play out. Like, right, that wildcard 1 spot is all you need. So depending on who's below you in that wildcard 2, which right now 5 points ahead of wildcard 2. So if we keep distancing ourselves against the competition, who again, that's the best part about the Pacific Division, is they have to play each other. They can't all win. They can't all win, and we get to play them and beat them, and they have to play each other. And so that's the best part, is it's not necessarily a situation where every team in the race can win. Some of those teams in the race have to lose. And so that just makes it a little better, takes a little bit of the pressure off. But I don't know, this team's playing great with the pressure on them. They're playing incredible hockey in the calendar year 2026, which is one of those things, like, I look at it and I'm trying to put 2 and 2 together, because like 2 months ago, I was talking about potentially tanking, I'm floating, doing a gentleman's tank, and so it's like, and to go from that to now, it's like almost guaranteed playoffs. It's like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, what happened? Was the mental switch, right? Like Keller starts lighting it up. I think coming into, he wants to start showcasing what he can do with the Olympics on the horizon. Right? You've got players who now, the trade deadline's only a couple of months away. You're saying, hey, I want to be here. I want to play here. You've got Schmaltz, who's looking for a new contract extension, but he's had a great year the whole year. You start getting some consistent goaltending. You start getting a little bit of power play success at the expense of the penalty kill. But one thing that I've noticed, like last year, a very big theme was the second period scaries, right? Like, oh my God, you get into the second period, here it comes, we're going to collapse. Now, I'm not saying this team hasn't had a poor period per game, like, because that has still been something that we
just
consistently
had
struggle.
big time the second period scaries the other night against Columbus.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the worst periods that Utah has played in a long time, and like it's a good thing that we bounced back in the third and scored two really quick ones, and kind of, I mean, obviously goes into overtime, and it's like a little puckered there at the end. But yeah, we might be talking about a completely different topic right now had they continued playing that way in the third, because they got dismantled in the second period. I mean, what, 3 shots on goal? It's like, that's not gonna cut it. Like, I mean, I said that it wasn't gonna cut it, and then we scored on 2 of our first 3 shots in the third. Made me look like an idiot. But yeah, we have had those second period scaries as recently as last damn night. So.
Yep. We've switched it up, though. We've kind of said, you know what, it doesn't always have to be the second period. Sometimes it can be the first period. Sometimes it can be the third period. This season there's still a tendency for this team to only play 40 minutes of hockey every night. What we're seeing too is other teams aren't making us pay like they did last year. Last year, teams consistently capitalized on our poor play in the second period. Consistently, like earth-shattering, consistently capitalized. This year, and Sarah Merrifield brings it up a lot in her intermission, like, you know, the patented bend don't break style, which it's scary, it's stressful, but it has played out. It's worked, but we've gotten a lot more offensive help this year than we had last year. And that's kind of taking a little bit of the burden off. And we are holding on to, the Columbus game notwithstanding, we're holding on to leads much, much, much better than we did last year, and much, much better than we did since in November and December, when we would consistently give up leads and let teams come back into it. And that was that historically bad stretch where you're talking about, like, this team playing now, like, how could that possibly be the same team then with only a few personnel changes? And so it's that mindset, whether Tourigny's messaging is finally getting in, or if he's just letting them play, whatever the messaging in that locker room is, or the consistently saying, we've just got to lock in. They've locked in, and they're the 5th best team since the turn of the calendar in 2026, and the best teams in the league are going on crazy runs like Buffalo. So it's a good place to be at the best time to do it.
Yeah. And as you were saying that, I was like having flashbacks, because you were talking about like not let it, when the scaries come into play, and I was like, yeah, and you're like, it could be the second period, it could be the third period, and in my head was like, it could be the last 2 minutes of a game with a 2-goal lead, and just the other day it could be a 2-goal lead with 7 minutes left, and then within 40 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever it was, it's a tie game, and you're like, oh, cool. You're just going crazy. It's like, I mean, I cannot be the only one, just like with how the second period went against Columbus, and then that, like the 2 quick goals that tied it up, and then the fighting, and like, who was it that skated away from that fight, like kind of started getting the crowd hyped up? I'm like, this is scary times right now. This is scary times. Like, that did not feel like a game that Utah was going to win at that point. Which I guess is probably a notch in the book, or a notch in the good column for the Utah Mammoth and Coach Tourigny, that they were able to kind of like seize that momentum and take it away from Columbus and at least get into overtime, and then just like they handled that overtime correctly. Like Barrett Hayton, I believe, took the opening draw, which, like, again, credit to Tourigny, because that was always Stenlund. You go out, take the draw, and then skate off the ice. But Stenlund has not been as good with his faceoffs this year. I mean, all year long, as he was last year. And now they bring out, was it Hayton? I feel like
Hayton
it was Hayton who came out.
Yeah, Hayton took
but we lost it. We lose that opening. We lose the opening draw, and then Columbus comes down and they just take like this lazy, like no pass shot on goal, and Utah just possesses the puck, and they look for their openings. They're like, okay, something's developing. It doesn't develop right, so they pull it back out. And like I saw Columbus fans on Twitter complaining about that because like, oh, you guys were just playing scared. You kept bringing the puck out, resetting and resetting. Like that's how you play 3-on-3 hockey.
Yeah.
Like you don't just skate in, take a shot on goal, and just like, well, we got a shot on goal. Cool. Like, and then you saw what it leads to. It leads to Clayton Keller just, and like, I don't know if you watched that replay, but his head doesn't move from the goal, right? He does not move from the goaltender. He's skating in, and like, I don't know if he can just see with his peripheral vision, but he's skating in and then just like still staring directly, just whoo, that way, and just fooled 3 defenders and a goalie. And just, I don't know how I got on this topic from talking about second period scaries and blowing 2-goal leads in 2 minutes.
I love it though. I love it.
I'm just ranting. It's been way too long since I've been in here talking hockey, and I want to get all of the words out of my mouth and talk about it all. So
loved it though.
God, that was an exciting game.
It really was one of the most exciting, and the emotion, it's the ups and downs, right? It's the, we're playing bad, but we're somehow have a 2-goal lead. Oh no. Now comes their energy. Like, and it was one of those games that I really thought we were destined to lose. But once again, like, the Mammoth are the only team who haven't gone to a shootout, and we just seem to have, we've locked in the puck possession is so important in 3-on-3 overtime. And it's kind of like, if you didn't realize that, like, go look back at the gold medal game for the Olympics. Like in that game, Connor McDavid tries to do it all himself, tries to split defenders. And what does it do? It leads to a turnover the other way. When you got time to set it up and possess the puck, you have 3 of the greatest players on earth on the ice together, and you still don't want to set up the puck. But that's what the Mammoth do. If it's not there, they'll bring it back. And as the opponent, it's got to be frightening, because there have been multiple games where Utah has done this, where they have either won the draw or quickly recovered the puck through a turnover or something, and they will take their time setting it up, coming in and out of the zone, getting the players that they want on and off the ice while maintaining the possession. And Utah, whether they practice it extensively or what, but we are really good at 3-on-3, and we just haven't needed the shootout, which is great, because historically, I may be misremembering, but I don't think we were always that great in shootouts last season. I think we lost many more than we won last season. So it is what it is, and you don't need it.
You see a lot of like hockey fans complain about 3-on-3 hockey deciding things. Like, saw a lot of that from Canadians after the gold medal game, saying like, oh, 3-on-3 hockey isn't real hockey. Is like, maybe it's because like I'm not like a long time hockey fan. I'm not a purist, but I see it. And like, to me, 3-on-3 hockey is just, it's beautiful to watch because it develops such a chess match. Like, you've got a team like Utah who's going to like, they're going to skate the puck into the zone, and they're going to look to attack. And if it doesn't develop, they're going to pass it. They back to the blue line. If the defense pressures, they have no problem skating it out, bring it back into their zone, bringing new players on, rotating, but keeping possession of the puck, and then bringing it in again. But that then the defense has to decide, okay, are we just going to let this team possess the puck for 3 minutes straight and just bring it out, bring it in, bring it out, bring it in? Or are we going to press and try to create a turnover and create an odd man break for ourselves? But then if the defense does that and they don't create the turnover, that leads to an odd man possession. Like, the chess match of it, to me, is beautiful. Like, that's awesome hockey to watch. Like, 5-on-5 at certain times just feels so cluttered. Like, there's so many bodies, and it's so hard to get a pass through to like one side to the other. And like, it's not bad hockey, but like, it's just a completely different breed. And like 3-on-3 just like creates so many different areas where teams and players can gamble, you know, and I love watching it. Like, maybe it's just because I'm not a purist, but I love watching 3-on-3 hockey. I would love it if, like, during the Olympics, the teams that don't go to the Olympics, like the rest of the NHL, like, have a 3-on-3 tournament. Like, just have some fun. Like, because that's what, like, you always complain about. You see people, and Like, well, these teams haven't been playing. Like, they're a little rusty. They got to knock off the rust. They haven't been playing in so long. Like, put together a 3-on-3 tournament for the rest of the league. Sure, do it. I don't care. It'll be fun to watch. Like, just like send your teams to the Olympics, or send your teams to, like, the Olympics aren't every year, but like if they do the Four Nations again, send those players there. Let the rest of the league like have a 3-on-3 tournament for some like silly cup in the middle of the season. And like that would be fun as hell to watch.
And
But
for
that's
a league
that's another tangent.
but a league is looking for things to like increase their media share, right? To continue to try to get into the collective minds of sports fans in America. And that high pace of 3-on-3 hockey, and you hate it when you lose, but you love it when you win. But the NHL has done everything in their power to make the game faster and more high scoring. So if you think 3-on-3 hockey is going anywhere, you're fooling yourself, because that's what the NHL wants and is actively promoting, is that speed and that scoring. It's much better than ending in a tie. Yes, the shootout's fun, but you still have that, right? You didn't give away the shootout just to make way for 3-on-3 hockey. Like, you still got the best of both worlds if 3-on-3 doesn't end things.
And like and even the shootout, like weird things happened in the shootout today. Like it happened today. I don't know if you watched the Minnesota Colorado game, but that went to a shootout. And I don't remember who shot first for Minnesota, but completely beat Wedgwood with a deke, and then on the like coming back with the backhand. No, I don't even think it was a backhand. The puck just kind of over the stick. His move created a wide open net, and then the puck just like didn't stay flat. It just kind of and he doesn't score. Like that decided the game, because like it went to fourth, maybe a fifth shooter in that one, but that goal would have won that shootout. It's just like there are little things like that happen that impact games all the time.
Yep. Even 5-on-5, right? You can always talk about a penalty that wasn't called, or a penalty that was called, or plays that change the complexion. Like there's always those
like
what ifs.
A goalie,
why not have excitement?
You can have a let's just say like a player like a Barrett Hayton pushed into him and then donkey punch him in the back of the head twice right in front of a referee, and it's just that's not a penalty. Who cares? That's fine.
Seeing a high number of embellishment penalties called this year, but for the most part, flopping works. That's why it's done in soccer. That's why it's done in the NBA. And that's why you're seeing it in the NHL, because it works. And if it's a tool that you have in your arsenal, why wouldn't you use it, right, to give your team an advantage? If you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's what they say. But it's just, it's just one of those things where anything could happen. It's not a problem with the format. The format is not the problem. It's your team's ability to handle the 3-on-3 format. Yep. That's the problem, right? Everybody knows the format's there. It didn't sneak up on anybody. So you either practice it or you don't. You either accomplish your goals or you don't. Like, don't blame the format when your team loses in the format, I guess is my end of rant comment.
Yeah, it's all coaching. Like, watching that game last night, Columbus wins the draw, and like winning the draw is so important in 3-on-3. They're like they won the draw, and I kind of went, oh, that sucks. And then they come down, they bring it into the zone, immediately take a shot. I'm like, ooh, that's not the shot you want to take there. And then Utah brings it in. They handle it exactly the way they should. It's coaching. If your coach sucks more than our coach sucks to suck.
Which 3 months ago I would have said isn't possible. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I've come around on Tourigny. I don't dislike you anymore. You're successful, and that's what we want.
Everything that he's done. Like we made a line change after the what game was it? We came out of the break, we win, and then we lose to Colorado, and then we win, and then we beat Minnesota, then we got shut out by Chicago. Like, and then we made a line change, and I tweeted after that. I was like, I get it. I like the lines as he made them. I like it, but I don't like. We've talked about this. Like, I don't want to see him get shut out in one game, and then shift things around again. But it's worked. And he did that against Columbus. Like, they came in with lines, and then that second period came in where we just couldn't do anything offensively, and he shifted things in game. and it immediately worked. Like 2 quick goals in the third period. Like what he's doing is working. And as somebody, like, I've been verbal about, like, dude, just stop throwing things against the wall just to see if they stick. And I don't know if it's because, like, he's making really good choices or if what he's throwing at the wall just is happening to stick right now. But everything he's doing is working. And I have to give the man his props because I am one of the first to, like, throw him under the bus when what he does doesn't work. So if I'm going to be that harsh in my critique, I've got to be that harsh in my praise. Everything he's doing right now is working.
And we'll see if he keeps it. That's the big thing, is a lot of times, I think last season, he didn't trust his gut. Like he would make a decision and then he would change course immediately. Like this season, like one of the things, like Brandon Tanev, Liam O'Brien have been out of the lineup for quite a long time, right? And that's something that, especially with O'Brien, I just didn't think Tourigny was capable of doing, is leaving him out of the lineup for long enough for this team to start winning games. And he's finally done it. And with Brandon Tanev especially, like I thought Brandon Tanev was going to be a hugely important piece to this team this year.
Yeah.
And he has not panned out. And Tourigny's finally said, you're out, and he's sticking with his changes. That's what I think we all appreciate. And maybe it's because they have just happened to work out. And if he had lost the game when he makes a change, it'll be telling to see who he rolls out against Chicago. If he keeps that new Cooley line the way it is, does JJ Peterka fit in the lineup, and see how that changes? Or does he go back and he looks at, well, Cole and Kerfoot just got beat up, so now I need to throw in O'Brien because all those Blackhawks, they've got goons. No, they don't. Like, you don't need O'Brien. Like, the team could fight for themselves, but we'll see what he does.
I don't think Yamamoto is really given him much of a choice, right? Like
he's so good.
It would be Yamamoto and Evan O'Brien, like deciding between those three, right? Because he's not going to take off Stenlund. He's not going to take off Kerfoot. If anybody comes out of the lineup, it's more than likely going to be Yamamoto. And Yamamoto's been playing so damn well. He's made that decision really, really easy.
Yep. Oh, he's been so good this season. Just been so good. And everybody now back healthy, back happy. One thing too that I've kind of let slip my mind, those last 2 wins against Philadelphia and Columbus both came with Sergachev out of the lineup, right? And that's a big piece of the blue line. We've had our criticisms of him this season, but he's still one of the best defensemen on the team, both offensively and defensively, and the team has overcome that. So I'm just looking forward to when he's healthy and we just get to slot those 6 defensemen, because even having a Dursey Cole third pairing, you're probably going to see him split time, and there's not going to be that much time difference between that pairing and the Schmidt-Marino pairing, and that's great when you have that depth of talent where you don't need to rely on just one pairing for 27 plus minutes a game. You can kind of get them down to 23, 24 and just keep them healthier longer. That's the key. Keep these guys skating because we want to see them, and maybe we'll see them for the first time going multiple weeks into April and May. So let's take a look at the next 3 games that we've got before we're going to be out of studio. We're starting this new schedule where hopefully we'll have every episode released on Mondays, give a fresh perspective of the week. And we've got coming up the bane of our existence this season. We've got the Chicago Blackhawks, who are playing tonight, I do believe, against Minnesota, but don't quote me on that. But we've got Chicago and Minnesota. Then we play Chicago at home, and then we play Pittsburgh at home. We're already on the 3-game road trip. Do you think we finally break the curse tonight against Chicago? Do we finally get them when they're on their back-to-back once again?
And they're on a back-to-back, and they've lost, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of their last 13. They've beat the Sharks, and they've beat us. Right? And maybe there is just something that there in sports, there are these weird matchups. Like, even though one team is like way better than another team, they match up really well with that one team for one reason or another. Like, just what Chicago does really well gives Utah fits with what they do really well. Like, it is just a bad matchup for Utah, which is kind of what it feels like. But like, on the back end of a back-to-back, Utah should win this game. Chicago's not playing really good hockey right now. Utah is playing really, really good hockey right now. So, like, just from that pure standpoint, like, Utah should win this game. But we've been outscored by them, 7-1 this
It's been
season
bad.
in two games. So, like, it makes me hesitate just a little bit to say, yeah, we're going to win the game. I will say we should win this game.
We absolutely should. Now, in good news, though, whatever happens in Chicago, if they have our number, we get Minnesota. We've had Minnesota's number this year, a 6-2 win and a 5-2 win. And this is the final meeting between us and Minnesota, which is strange. You usually get 4 matchups within your conference, but Minnesota's one of those teams where we only get them 3 times. And this is the last game we play them until potentially the Western Conference Finals. And we've shellacked them the first 2 times. So maybe it is just a matchup thing, and Chicago has our number this year. We've got Minnesota's number this year. But if we can come out of that game with those 2 games with 1 win, I think we're feeling good about ourselves. If we come out with 2 wins, then I think we're feeling really, really good at ourselves, because I absolutely think that we beat Chicago at home. Well, they did shellac us at home, but I still think we got them. And then Pittsburgh at home will be a fun game. I'll be at that one too. But again, I don't want to say splitting, like, that's the thing. Because we're in the spot we're in right now, I kind of feel comfortable. Oh yeah, going 500 is good enough. Like, I would still love to get 3 out of these next 4. 3 out of these next 4. You beat Chicago twice, and you either take Minnesota to the woodshed again or get Pittsburgh, and now you're sitting 6-1 in your last 7, heading into the back end where the tougher part of the month, like, that would feel really, really good going into games against Dallas and Chicago, or Dallas and Vegas.
Looking at Pittsburgh on the schedule, and Evgeny Malkin just got a 5-game suspension.
Sucker.
He got suspended for
whacking a guy in the face.
Against, was it Philadelphia?
I can't remember who it was against, but he straight up murdered a guy on the ice.
So, like, if it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So depending on when did that suspension come down? Because I think he should be out for the Utah game.
And I believe Crosby's still out.
And then Sidney Crosby's still out. And so, like, that's a little bit of possibly good fortune. Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin both being out of that game, and they've got, let's see, Brazeau's out, Hollander's out. Like, they've got some troubles. How have they been playing lately? I'm just gonna do all of my research right here as I talk. They've lost 4 of their last 6. So they're struggling a little bit, but
you want a guaranteed win against Pittsburgh, just take them to the shootout. 1-9 this season. The Mammoth haven't played a single shootout. The Pittsburgh Penguins have lost 9 of them. They're 1-9.
They've been to 10 shootouts.
And lost 9 of them. So that's how you beat Pittsburgh. But man, isn't this exciting? We're not talking about how, you got to win 9 of the next 10 to even sniff the playoffs. And we're talking about, hey, if you drop 2 of the next 4, you're still okay. This is great. This is great.
Stuart Skinner. What? I'm not sweating the friggin'. I forgot they traded for Skinner. No, I'm not sweating the Penguins.
We're winning 3 of the next 4 if we don't win all 4.
Yeah.
Book it.
I'm scared of Chicago. But I mean, at the very least, you have to split those 2 games with Chicago. We're not losing to the Penguins. So it's just, can you continue your lopsided sort of dominance over the Minnesota Wild? I say it all the time. That's the hinge on which it turns. The next 4 games, it hinges on the Minnesota game.
I love the Minnesota Wild. We didn't get Jesper Wallstedt, but that's okay. We can still haunt his dreams. Holy cow, Dustin! There it is. We're getting you back in the studio. We're getting your feet wet, and here we are an hour later. And I feel like we could keep going, but let's get final thoughts as we get ready for this game against Chicago to round out last 2 games of the road trip before we come back to Utah. What are your final thoughts coming out of this episode?
I was a little confused as to why it was going to take 4 to 10 days for us to get MacKenzie Weegar, because, like, the whole visa coming from Canada, coming to play here, it's like he's just playing, like, he has no problem playing in the States. Like, what What does it matter if the team he plays for is based in the States? But like, you know what they say, you can't butter your bread when the butter's in another country. So
No, that's actually a very common saying. And I don't know, I didn't even know that non-roster immigration status was a status in the NHL. But there's a non-roster immigration list, and he was on it. But I'm just happy we got him soon.
Thanks a lot, Roosevelt.
The one thing I want to say is get back to my roots of the mayor of Negativeville. This is right about the same time last year where St. Louis goes on their 10-win streak to storm into the playoffs. So as comfortable as I felt saying we can go 2-2 and be okay, like there's still great teams in the West. There's still great teams that are fighting for a playoff spot. 5 points feels good, but by no means is it an insurmountable thing. All gas, no brakes. I just want to see Mammoth continue to play this consistent great hockey and not have a letdown against the Blackhawks again tonight.
Please,
Playoffs!
please give me playoff hockey.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. 6 weeks from now, we'll be talking about the playoffs. Dustin, I appreciate you coming back into the studio, fighting through a little bit of a cold, but I've loved talking to you. I always do. Thanks so much for joining me. And everybody out there, have a great night.